Hey, it's 7 o'clock. Let's call the town council meeting of July 22nd, 2025. Jen, will you take roll?
Member Operish,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Gold, Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Here. Over to you, Hassan. Councilmember Abarish, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Republic, which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
Okay. Moving right along, we'll open up public comment. So persons wishing to address the council on any matter not listed on the agenda are invited to do so now. Please note that we, of course, cannot undertake extended discussions on any topic. Those issues can be referred to staff for a future agenda item. We are limited to 5 persons, 3 minutes each. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on something that's not on the agenda tonight? Mr. Middleman?
Good evening, David Middleman, 280 Grandview. I just want to stand up and pass on some reflections I've had about the ASRB and my time on it. Although tonight I'm speaking as a private citizen. I do think that you asked me when I interviewed for the ASRB over 18 months ago if I felt that it had value to the town. I do feel that way now after 18 months. When we have something constructive to say about a project, it's well received and does improve the project. Although I do feel that in its current capacity, it's not meeting its full potential. And I sent you a letter earlier today on some ideas on how to meet that potential. And I just respectfully ask that you pass that on to staff to look into or when we come back from August recess. Thank you.
I definitely will. David sent a letter with his reflections on ASRB and its changing role and subjective design standards versus objective and pathways forward where they might add more value. And you're absolutely correct in so much of what you wrote. And so I'll forward it along to staff and to council. When I got your note, I actually called up Gene and I asked if my memory was foggy, if we had already asked to agendize a study session on ASRB and its role and some aspects of what it should be reviewing versus not reviewing, because so much has changed in state law, as you pointed out in your email. And I got we're overdue on that and we'll get to work on it. And I think that was a couple of years ago, but we had the housing element that got in the way and then a town manager transition. So we're on it. So stay tuned. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Then I think with that, we will close public comment and go on to, just got to find what's next. Sure I could if town manager report. Oh, trails. No. I'm sorry. One other. Let me try. 3rd time's a charm. We are so happy to welcome the Mid-Peninsula Open Space group. Please, would you like to approach the mic? Apologies that I didn't have it right in front of me. I was looking forward to the presentation. There it is. Yeah.
How's that? Can you hear me
Perfect.
good? Good evening, council members. Thank you for hearing us out tonight. I am Margaret McNiven, and I'm here tonight with my colleague Zoe Kirsten Tucker, and also with us tonight is Josh Hugg, Government Affairs Program Manager at MidPen. We're happy to entertain questions during the presentation if you so wish. Let's see, I'll take the next slide. Can you do that? Perfect. The Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, or MidPen as it's commonly known, is a public agency created by voters 53 years ago in 1972, the result of a grassroots effort by local citizens who wanted to preserve room to breathe after seeing the Santa Clara Valley filling up with development. 6 years later, the voters of San Mateo County approved a similar measure, extending the district into San Mateo County. The focus was on preservation and protection, and public access would be limited to ecologically sensitive uses. The lands were to become preserves and not parks with campgrounds, paved roads, and other amenities. Then in 2014, some 40 years later, voters passed Measure AA, another parcel tax which provided funds for maintaining these lands in a responsible manner. This was a huge validation that voters do appreciate the natural open spaces around them. So the mission, which is up in front of us, is to acquire and preserve a regional green belt of open space land in perpetuity, protect and restore the natural environment, and provide opportunities for ecologically sensitive public enjoyment and education. On the coast, because our boundaries extend to the coast now, MidPen has an expanded mission to acquire and preserve agricultural land of regional significance, preserve rural character, and encourage viable agricultural uses of the land. Okay, I'll take the next slide. Today, we manage some 72,000 acres in an area stretching from 92 in the north down to the Sierra Azul Range in the south, and from the San Mateo coast in the west to the bay, where you'll find a couple of small preserves. Most of the land is in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties, but there is a small area to the south in Santa Cruz County, that little green thing sticking down at the bottom. The land is divided into 27 preserves and has some 250 miles of trails, of which 60 are accessible to bikes, and a small number are dog-friendly. The trails are free and open to the public 365 days a year from 1/2 hour before sunrise to 1/2 hour after sunset. On the coast, we manage about 11,000 acres of grazing lands. Next slide, please. Here is a slide. Here's the district map showing the 7 wards, each representing some 110,000 people. There's 1 board member for each ward, so there's 7 board members on our board. Zoe and I represent San Mateo County, the largest and most beautiful wards. Woodside is split between Zoe and myself. Next slide, please. So I've already mentioned most of this information, but I wanted to add that our headquarters are in Los Altos on El Camino. There are 200 employees, as well as over 1,000 wonderful volunteers who serve as docents and educators who help with trail maintenance and put their backs into invasive weed management. There is one more fact that I'd like to mention, and that is the difference between Post and MidPen. The 2 organizations are often confused. Basically, Post is our nonprofit and younger partner. Being a nonprofit, they don't have to go through all the hoops and regulations that apply to a government agency. Post buys land, which they can sell to MidPen to manage and maintain. Cloverdale Ranch in Pescadero was acquired from Post in 2023. All right, so we have a few slides of the pretty preserves close by. There's El Corte Madera Creek Open Space Preserve, very popular. There's the Russian Ridge with the beautiful wildflowers that you see in the spring, and Russian Ridge, again with spectacular views of the coast. And your local Thornwood, which is stretches from Old La Honda up to 84. And that's it. Keep it brief. Does anybody know what kind of snake this is? You got it. Well done.
What was it, say? Oh,
So I'm going to pass it over to Zoe now.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Good evening, everyone. Yes, the San Francisco garter snake that is both threatened and endemic to San Mateo County, and we're happy to say it loves Mid-Penn preserves. So we're happy to preserve this beautiful, amazing creature. Next slide, please. All right, so let's start out with wildland fire resiliency. I think this is probably top of mind for many of us now. I have quite a bit to tell you about, and we'll be eager to take your questions. And if we can't answer them, we'll have staff get back to you. But in this picture, what you see is a prescribed burn, the first that we've done in about 15 years to bring what we call good fire back to the land. This happened in Cherry Springs down in our Sierra Azul Preserve late last fall. In 2020, Mid-Penn actively assisted CAL FIRE's response to the CZU Lightning Complex fires, which burned over 86,000 acres in San Mateo and Santa Cruz County. This wildfire underscored the need for Mid-Penn to enhance its fuel reduction efforts quickly. Our wildland fire resiliency program, or resilience program, is meant to be just such a response. Next slide, please. On the left, you'll see the most recent fire hazard severity zone mapping of San Mateo County, and the areas in red are those that are at most at risk. On the right side of the slide, you see the 4 components of our wildfire resiliency program: vegetation management, prescribed fire, mapping, and a monitoring plan. Lots to tell you about, but I want to cut to the chase here. With vegetation management, this addresses the creation and maintenance of fuel reduction areas for ecosystem health. That means creating fuel breaks, defensible space zones using vegetation management techniques, including manual and mechanical removal of vegetation, the use of pesticides or herbicides, and prescribed herbivory. Our prescribed fire plan, which we'll talk a little bit more about, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Our mapping includes the creation of resource advisor maps for each and every one of our preserves. The goal is to be able to share these maps with our firefighting partners in the case of a wildfire. They indicate where there are sensitive resources, where there's critical infrastructure, where there are things that need to be paid attention to, both are protected from fire and from fire suppression activities. And finally, the monitoring plan allows us to do pre-project kind of baselining of various areas, then bring our vegetation management or treatment plans, put them in place, and then monitor them over time to see when we need to come back and revisit those spaces. Next slide, please. All right, this slide indicates the areas in which we've either completed or recently completed or have vegetation management work in process. This includes a variety of activities including creating shaded fuel breaks, defensible space work, eucalyptus removal, the creation of community escape routes, disc line maintenance, and general brushing and mowing. Specifically in the Woodside area, we've done a lot of work up both at the top and the bottom of Windy Hill. At the top, just south of the parking lot there, we've done an extensive amount of vegetation management on the east side of Skyline. At the bottom, more work has been done down by the Sequoias. At Kings Mountain Road, we've done vegetation management work on both sides of that road. And next slide, please. And just to focus in a little bit more on Teague Hill, we created 2 fuel breaks on Pinto Road and Summit Springs Road back in 2019 in partnership with Woodside Fire and with a PG&E grant. Additional work has been performed more recently in 2021 along Partition Road and Oak Hill. And those areas are scheduled for a retreatment of fuel reduction in 2027. So lots going on. We ramped up quickly and continue to do as much as we can, as quickly as we can in this area to be prepared. Next slide, please. Okay, a little bit more about prescribed burn. The benefits of prescribed burn are really clear. They reduce the risk and intensity of wildfire. They help to preserve grassland habitats by burning encroaching shrubs and trees, and perhaps most important, California's native plant community is absolutely adapted to and dependent on periodic fire sweeping through the landscape. So we're still working on this. We don't have any plans for prescribed burns in this area now, but be assured that you'll be fully aware if and when we do. Let's see, I want to move on now. Next slide, please. Okay, a little bit about our outreach partnership program. In the recent years, we've done a lot more work to partner with various nonprofits in the region to extend the reach of MidPenn's work and help us penetrate farther into the community. We have a 3-tiered program now. We find it useful to start with what we call a pilot partnership, where we might take on a new nonprofit, provide them with a stipend of about $2,500, and maybe plan a single event with them, give them some limited support, and see whether it's a good fit. And if indeed it is, we move them to tier 2, where we perhaps create some formal contracts with groups and extend more funding support, sometimes in the range of $5,000 to $20,000. And you can see some of the community partners that we're working with at that level now. And finally, with some of the partners that we worked at more extensively, we have these multi-year, more deeply collaborative contract efforts. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. If you haven't taken a look at MidPenn's event calendar, I highly recommend it. We have a tremendous number of incredibly dedicated and passionate and talented docents who lead all kinds of activities throughout the year on our preserves. I took a quick look at the website today, and just some of the things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks is the morning meander along Purissima Creek, banana slugs in summer at Purissima Creek. We have a tour of Cloverdale Ranch, which, as Margaret indicated, is our newest preserve. We have Moth Night at Montebello. Many of our docent-led activities are kid-friendly. So if you're looking for ways to get out with your family this summer, I highly recommend taking a look at what we have to offer. Okay, next slide. Let's see. Oh, okay. I think maybe we got rid of one of those slides. All right, I want to talk now a little bit about some of our regional trail work. MidPenn is advancing multiple projects to significantly expand public access across Purissima Creek Redwoods Open Space Preserve. This is our second most popular preserve on the coast side. If any of you have tried to hike out there lately, you know that parking is incredibly difficult, both at the top and the bottom. We are trying hard to expand the public's use of this area by creating expanded parking opportunities at the top and the bottom. We have several projects in the works right now. We have the Purissima to the Sea parking and trail effort, which you can see in the bottom left-hand portion of the slide. This is a new parking area at Verde Road, just off Highway 1, that will, where we'll be bringing some transportation demand strategies, some shuttles to help people get to and from Purissima Creek without having to drive their car. We have another project up at the top at Skyline to enhance that existing parking lot. So lots of work going on here to create this really critical regional link from the Ridge Trail along Skyline all the way down to the California Coastal Trail. Next slide, please. And this depicts kind of the even bigger regional view. You can see the Purissima to the Sea Trail to the west of Skyline there. It bifurcates, and part of it runs down to Verde Road, where that new parking area will be. The northern portion will be will come out just around Johnston Ranch and the southern border of Half Moon Bay. But more importantly, with this slide, you can see that we're looking to connect it all the way to the Bay Trail, with the hope that we can leverage a portion of the Dumbarton Rail Corridor right of way to enable bicycle and pedestrian use. So it'd be pretty amazing to be able to go from the bay all the way to the sea sometime soon. All right, next slide. Oh, there's my Highway 17 slide. Let me go back to my notes on that. This is an important one. Back in 2014, when the district was getting ready to launch its Measure AA $300 million bond measure, we conducted a tremendous amount of public outreach. And the most popular project of all was this wildlife undercrossing on Highway 17. The goal here is to create a safe passage under 17 for wildlife, and then a pedestrian bridge across 17 that will connect up regional trails. I think it's the Ridge Trail. The idea here is for mountain lions in particular. This is a hot spot on 17 where there's a lot of lions are killed in this area. And what's happening with the mountain lion population in California is they're becoming genetically isolated due to roads that they can't cross. So if we can provide avenues for these lions to move more broadly, we can connect the Santa Cruz mountain lions with the Gavilan Range and across to the Diablo Range and increase the genetic health and integrity of this species. Lots more to be said about this project. We're actively, it's actively undergoing environmental review right now. We're looking for funding partners to help with construction. Construction will be performed by VTA, and we're hoping to begin that construction in 2026 and 27. So stay tuned. This is going to be a very exciting development for us here in this region. All right, next slide. Last, I want to talk to you a little bit about rodenticide outreach. This is an important one for us. About 10 years ago, 12 bobcats in Rancho San Antonio Preserve died and dozens more were reported sick. Subsequent investigations indicated that these animals had been poisoned with what are called second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides. And what happens is top predators feed on rats, rodents, various things that have been poisoned. The poison accumulates in these predators' bodies and then makes them much more susceptible to deadly diseases like mange. So we do a lot of work to help communities around mid-pen preserves understand kind of how horrifying these poisons are. Our wonderful public affairs staff works with the state legislature to try to ban them as much as possible. But we like to try to keep it in people's minds that it's really important to pay attention to the way we try to contain rodents in and around our homes and not use these kinds of poisons because they go right straight up the food chain. So I've talked to you a lot. That's all I have for you. There's so much more to talk about, but I'll be happy to answer questions. And once again, thank you for your time tonight. Anybody?
Thank you. Any questions for Mid-Penn? Yes, Councilmember
Sure,
Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware, the town of Woodside puts a huge amount of effort into fire prevention. And what I heard you saying sounds like Mid-Peninsula has come to the fire prevention part relatively lately, last 5 or 10 years. So it's 17 years before you've done a controlled burn, I think. Just curious, are you taking your direction now from both Woodside Fire, Cal Fire, your partners, on what is needed and appropriate to do to prevent the next fire that we almost had 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's a really important question. And I think what you're asking is to what degree do we partner with our amazing partners, one of whom is right here with us this evening. And one of the slides I had Josh cut out because I was trying to keep it shorter, indicated the way in which we analyze the landscape at a landscape level, not just by preserve, but at a landscape level, looking both at fire hazard and also ecosystem. What did you call it, Josh? That slide that showed the GIS layers. Right, so we look at both ecological resiliency and fire hazard. and analyze those with our GIS, amazing GIS people. Then we put them together and allows us to figure out where exactly in Mid-Penn preserves we need to concentrate our efforts. First and foremost, and then later, so we can prioritize where we go in and do our vegetation management work. We share this work with our partners, and really, I think I can't say enough for the way we work in partnership with CAL FIRE, with Woodside Fire, with various fire safe councils to work together. That's certainly how we fought the CZU fire, and certainly what we're working to do better, to refine, to continue to be ready as best we can for the next one that comes along. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Thank
okay.
Ms. Ball.
Question. Can you talk a little bit about the donation of lands to your organization? I mean, I just don't know what the mechanics are, and I assume you've got this strategic map. You're trying to put things together. You know, it's a beautiful map that you had out there that, very extensive things, but are there limits to the size? Are there things that you're looking for specifically? What are the sort of things as you're putting this together?
Let me start back with Post. So the Peninsula Open Space Trust is the entity that typically goes out and buys land. And they're looking for land that has strategic value, both for wildlife corridors, for natural resources, for agricultural, prime ag lands. Those lands then typically come to the district for long-term care, for caring for in perpetuity. The district does have a list of, or like we keep track of properties that might have strategic value, that might be contiguous with an existing open space preserve, for example, or have really critical watershed value, natural resource values. So we don't have a number in mind. We tend to be a little bit, what's the word? Yes, opportunistic when we can. We take things when we can. People often will come to us and say, hey, I've got this property. Are you interested? And so that's kind of how it's worked. Probably earlier on with the district, the first probably 20 years, all we did was acquire land. We just locked it down and protected it as much as possible. That slowed down a little bit in more recent years, more recent decades. Our work is more focused on creating trails and creating opportunities for people to enjoy the land and kind of cleaning up the landscape, if you will, for fire preparedness and things of that sort. Do you have anything to add to that, Josh? I'm going to turn it over to the expert.
Yeah, one thing I want to emphasize is that we do not compel people to buy their land. These are only willing sellers. We are here for the long haul, and it's always an ongoing conversation. Director Kirsten Tucker is correct that we look for properties, not only just opportunities, but for their ecological value, for their recreation. The Parisma to the Sea Trail, there was an intentional effort to assemble parcels to complete that trail, to allow for an alignment there. It's interesting, on the coast side, we also have agricultural acquisitions, grazing land primarily. Now, I think Parisma is our second preserve where trails will be going through grazing land. So hikers will be interacting with cattle. But those cattle also serve a purpose. We use a process called conservation grazing, which helps to not only reduce fuel loads, but also control the presence of invasive species. We have an active integrated pest management program to eliminate non-native species on the landscape, many of which have higher fire hazard potential. They're more flammable. So if you just go in and clear cut an area, generally the first thing to come back are the invasives, and many of them, like French broom, are much more flammable. So all of that's taken into consideration when we're looking at these acquisitions. One of the differences that distinguish us from agencies like Post, who we actually created back in the 70s, Um, Post is about, and other land trusts tend to be more about protection. Ultimately, we are about stewardship, ongoing caretaking of that landscape. We get a sliver of property tax and, fewer and fewer acquisitions over time and ramping up our stewardship activities to make sure they're healthy.
Thanks, Josh. He knows. Anything else?
That went right to my question. Maybe we could quantify that a little bit. I was in the same camp as Councilmember Brown, that missions evolve and priorities now evolve. People are worried about fire risk, as you pointed out, and home insurability and whatnot, and fire mitigation and fuel breaks and all sorts of things. And we sat down with our fire marshal recently and learned about how great it would be to have 100-foot wide fuel breaks through some of the open space. I mean, you basically surround us. You are the border of Woodside, all of the open space. But how much, I mean, I don't have an idea for how large your budget is, how much of that budget is, you mentioned this, you're pivoting towards stewardship and access, and how much of it goes towards fire resiliency, and how might that mission be evolving, given that you've done this I mean, by all measures, you have had the most successful 50 years possible in terms of land acquisition. But now, where are you in that cycle towards pivoting towards protection?
Yeah, let me give a broad brush to that. I don't have specific numbers for you, but I can tell you that after the CZU fire, pardon me, we hit the deck running and brought in millions and millions of dollars. It's really expensive, this
Yeah,
work.
right.
What was that, 9 million? That we've brought in $9 million for fire resiliency work in the last few years.
I'm not sure exactly how much for fire resiliency, but our overall budget's about 80 million.
Right. But what percentage, if we could kind of broad brush it, is going to fire resilience? What have we ramped up and allocated additionally? We could get you that.
Yeah.
We've clearly devoted a lot more in recent years to it. And it was largely in response to the CZU fire. And just knowing that with the changing climate, we have to do this now. We absolutely have to throughout the district. So let us get you some more specifics on that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you all have the authority as board members to pivot budget in that direction over time, I suppose, no matter what.
We do, and I have to say, I give a lot of credit to staff for being very responsive to the community needs and for understanding for it's not just money, it's staffing up and providing, getting the resources in place to provide the people to do the work. So staff's very, very careful about that and working towards it moving forward. But yes, it is the board that makes those decisions.
Joshua?
That, as part of that effort, we have been actively staffing up, and the majority of that staffing up has been going towards fuel management, dedicated crews that go out and do that vegetation management.
That's great.
Yeah.
As a resident of Summit Springs Road, I am very happy with the fuel break you're building. So thank
Good.
you.
Oh, good.
And that is a gorgeous picture of an Anna's hummingbird here. So well done. Okay, any other questions for Mid-Penn?
And I encourage you to reach out to either of us, Margaret and myself. If you have additional questions, you can reach us anytime. And if we don't have the answers, we know who to go to get them for you, because we understand that there are a lot of issues here that are of concern to all of us. So
Very good. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for everything you do. You've elevated the quality of life for all of us and the habitat for animals, and you've done incredible things for the entire ecosystem. So we really appreciate everything you all do.
thank you.
And thank you for being
We
here.
appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Hey, I guess I'll just quickly check. Is there anybody that would like to make any public comment on the Mid-Penn presentation? Seeing none, we will close and move on to the town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Woodside Town Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the Woodside Town Manager. I met with the San Mateo County Sheriff on Thursday, July 17th to discuss the Town of Woodside Law Enforcement Services contract. The subcommittee will meet again in August to discuss, and we will be bringing this item forward in September, likely on the 9/9 meeting. The San Mateo Local Agency Formation Commission, known as LAFCO, had a meeting with the deputy town attorney, the Public Works Director, and myself on July 17th as well. At that meeting, this mostly revolved around the sewer system that overlaps with multiple agencies, and the town of Woodside is attempting to better understand how the sewer system and wastewater treatment plant affect the RENA requirements, and if the system is capable of handling increases, not only for the hypothetical development, but also for when septic systems fail and homeowners attempt to connect to the sewer system as they transition away from septic. And so LAFCO is scheduling a meeting for the town, LAFCO themselves, and the county to meet and discuss these topics so we can have kind of hopefully a path forward. The town had a meeting concerning a records retention policy update internally. I'm mentioning this because these are often overlooked projects for records retention. And once this project is completed, that'll elicit a larger project from our town clerk on how we plan on transitioning some of the paper files we have into electronic records retention. On July 16th, I attended the Emergency Preparedness and Community Meeting known as EPIC at the Portola Valley Woodside Fire Protection District offices. On July 16th, I met the Woodside Hills HOA president and discussed her concerns about fire preparedness, and she stressed her interest in seeing the town provide more vegetation removal along the right-of-way, specifically along Woodside Drive and into High Road. This falls in line with, as mentioned in the past, I'll be bringing forward a vegetation removal contract from the Woodside Fire Protection District in September for consideration by this council as well. On Tuesday, July 8th, the town launched a community-wide communication survey. So far, the outreach has included a postcard mailer, an email to all town staff and committee, commission, and board members requesting their help in completing and sharing the survey, as well as an article in the eWoodsider, e-notification from the town website as a news flash, and a flyer posted at town hall around the town. The staff is sending out communications strategically to loosely track what communication method is eliciting most response. Staff's rough estimate at this point is that the postcard was mailed to 3,726 addresses, and this resulted in 100 responses in the first week. And then an email to the 139 committee, commission, and board members resulted in approximately 95 responses 2 days after it was sent. The staff plans to continue advertising the survey on Nextdoor, as well as e-notification message to also subscribers to town email lists. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Jason?
What are you doing with all your free time?
This is it, you know?
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the public on the town manager's report? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to appointments. Trail Committee appointment to the Subcommittee of Appointments. Okay.
Have an application from Stacia Carr to join the trail committee. The members of the subcommittee on appointments both indicated their support for that. We would submit to council approval of adding Stacia Carr to the trails.
I move we add her Trails Committee.
Second.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Gold,
Yes.
Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes. Okay. And down, we're moving over to the consent agenda. All items on the consent are considered routine, will be approved with one roll call motion unless an item is requested to be pulled. Is there any item anyone would like to have pulled for further discussion? Is there any item that the public would like pulled? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Second.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes,
Councilmember Gold,
Yes.
Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to public hearing, item A, a resolution approving the vacation of a pedestrian and equestrian easement on Marva Oaks. Yes, this is going over to you.
Yes, this will be Public Works Director Yazdan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is I just have a quick question. Do we need to open the public hearing? Okay. So this is a project that has gone to the Trails Committee and also to the Planning Commission. And the subtotal is that we are abandoning 2 segments of the trail and keeping 1 segment because as part of a lot line adjustment merger of 2 parcels together. And the alternative or the new trail is basically covers the same area as the 2 portions that are abandoned. There is a map in your packet that that shows it, and there's I think a more clear map that we included as a desk item that shows how the new trails would work. Again, the trail, it went to the Trails Committee and it was approved unanimously. Yeah, it's that green, so it's basically the green line that comes all the way down, and then we're abandoning the 2 pink segments. Yes, exactly. So it passed unanimously in Trails and in Planning Commission, and we are requesting the council's approval to move forward with that.
Okay, very good. Any questions on the staff report?
Is there currently a trail on the easement, or is it just an easement with the ability to use it if needed?
Well, the pink areas were the ones that were used before, but in light of and you see the orange line between the 2 parcels. So now that both lots are merged essentially, the property owner has requested that we vacate the 2 pink segments and then go with the green, the extension of the green line. So there is an easement, there is a trail, and it takes you from the same place to the same location, just in a different manner. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, any questions? Oh, lots of hands going up. We'll open public comment and we'll start with you, Bob. Bob, you might be muted. No, you're unmuted.
Are you
There you
able
are.
to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. I'm the owner of 155. Just addressing that map to be more clear, the green trail is an existing trail that meanders through the desired area by the Horse Trail Committee. The red was a provisional protection in case the property owners in that lower green section decided there was no obligation to maintain that. And so the protective easement was the pink area, that if you couldn't have the green area at the bottom, you'd get the pink. And through this lot line adjustment, I'm now going to own, my wife and I are going to own all the area of the green, and we're achieving for the town and the Horse Trails Committee permanent right to that lower green part, which is a more, as you might guess, it's a nicer trail. It's on slope, it's meanders through. The other goes straight across and by my tennis court, and it's a lot less fun for the horses and a lot less fun for us. So it's the reason it got a unanimous vote is that green trail is a far superior trail for the Horse Trails Committee, and it's existing, and it will now be permanent.
Got it. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. And we'll go to David Middleman. David?
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep, we got you.
David Littleman, 280 Grandview. And this is more of a, just a, out of curiosity. So when, my question was going to be how much was the new trail going to cost? I hear that there's an existing trail, but, when the town who maintains the trails that are under the equestrian easements? And I guess and then is it the town or is it the property owner is the question I have.
Okay, we'll see if we can answer that for you. Yes,
It would be the town that would maintain it.
the town, in case you didn't hear it, David.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other public comments? All right, Ms. Hanson. And we've got a little mute. There you go.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
So I ride the trail that's marked in green regularly. It's a beautiful trail. It has been in place for many, many years. So thank you very much for uploading this map, which helped us to understand that this trail that the Trails Committee approved almost 2 years ago. I don't know what the delay was. Maybe it's the lot line adjustment, but the Trails Committee was in favor of preserving and protecting the green marked trail that you see on this map. And it's a fantastic trail. It's a vital connection to some other areas for equestrians. And this current green marked path, if I'm not mistaken, is actually pedestrian and equestrian. One of the things that this is kind of like this is a side note, but it appears to me that there are lots of diseased trees along this trail. They've been in decline for probably the past 20 years. So I wanted to make you aware of that as a related item. But the trail that you see in green is fantastic, and we are thankful that it will be permanently protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. That's great to hear. The issue of maintenance, again, that falls to us and a budget, I imagine, of some kind that could be looked at, Yaz, or what are your thoughts on that last statement?
Absolutely. We're continuously, our crews, as they go around and maintain the trails, we also look for other things, what we can do as far as the trimming of the trees, and if there are any signs of disease or decay, we'll definitely follow up on that.
That's great. Okay. And Bob, I saw your hand go up. Did you want to comment again, or are we all right? Yes, sir. Okay, we'll go back to you.
I was just going to say that as Kim pointed out, there are a few trees on our property that have fallen due to disease, and we obviously take care of cutting them down, and we proactively took down a dead tree a few weeks ago as supported by the town. So certainly trees on our property that might affect the horse trail we're on top of, and with the Woodside Town's oversight.
We appreciate your stewardship. Thank you. Any other public comments on item A? All right, well, we will close public comment. Any deliberation by council? Okay, I think, well, this looks, I think we're going to be ready for a motion. Looks like we're in a good place and balancing out all the needs of all the parties and possibly even improving upon the situation. So is there a motion to approve item A?
Move that we approve the vacation and pedestrian easements on 153, 155 Marlborough Oaks Drive, resolution number 2025.
Second.
Councilmember Albrecht,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Gold,
Yes.
Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you. All right, moving on to new business item B, a resolution ratifying an ordinance by the Woodside Fire Protection District designating fire hazard severity zones and official maps and rescinding the 2008 map. So I'll hand it off to you, Jason.
Yes, Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Woodside Town Council. So I just want to kind of walk through this evening the actions that we're requesting for you to take. So at the conclusion here of the staff report, staff recommends that the town council approve the draft resolution that's attached to this staff report. By doing so, you would be rescinding the ordinance from the town of Woodside, ordinance number 2008-542, that is designating very high fire severity, and that is the map from 2008. And then you would be ratifying an ordinance that the Woodside Fire Protection District has already passed, and that was ordinance in this packet 25-01. And that has the updated map from 2025. And so those are the actions with one resolution tonight that are in front of you. And so we have Kim Giuliacci. Hopefully that is correct, from the Woodside Fire Protection District, our fire marshal here this evening to answer questions on this topic. And it probably is prudent for us to pull up the map at this point. I'll have the clerk pull up the map when she has an opportunity.
Okay, questions for Fire Marshal Giuliacci or Town Manager? Yes, Councilmember Brown.
And I'll just, I'm sorry, Fire Marshal, this map right here in front of us that you're looking at is the, I believe, the 2008 map. And so this is the old map that tonight are replacing with the new map if the council desires.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I noticed on the map, my territory, Woodside Heights, one, there's no designation, is that correct?
So on the map that CAL FIRE had put out to the state of California, all the jurisdictions, there are some areas that are no longer designated. So you have no designation, meaning you don't fall into
Means
any
no
of these
fire-
categories.
no Fire danger.
Well, no, it doesn't mean that. That's the beauty of these maps, is that it confuses people in thinking that because they're in a moderate or now they're no longer very high, they're high, that they're no longer at risk. These maps are hazard maps. They have nothing to do with the risk that you are in living in a wildland urban interface. So these maps are more used for land use planning and development to know how fire safe regulations are going to be applied during that time. And because you are in Woodside, the Woodside Fire Protection District Fuel Mitigation Ordinance and requirements for defensible space for existing structures and new construction apply to everyone in the district, regardless of what zone you're in. But the purpose of these maps is required by state law. So therefore, California, CAL FIRE, puts these out because it is required. It does have its function. It's just not a function for people to think that they're not at risk.
Okay, I understand they're not at risk, but there's relative degrees of risk that I'm interested in because
Not really, because if a fire comes, you will burn as long as there's fuel around your house, regardless where you are in this map. Whether you're moderate, high, very high, no nothing, the fire will still burn past those boundaries because there are no boundaries. So that's why the ordinance is in place, because it's applicable to every structure in the whole district. These maps don't take into account any structures. It's strictly on climate, topography. So that's why it's more of a hazard map, and it designates it for those places that don't have any kind of laws or regulations around them. So there are jurisdictions in California that don't have ordinances, that don't have any means of how to apply defensible space requirements. So this is the map that was put out long time ago in order for state law to apply in different areas to the very high and the high, because that's what state law does right now. It only applies to the high and the very high, those defensible space requirements. But as we've seen through research and time, those are modifications that state law is now looking to change that, but they still needed to give areas that don't have anything at least a means for where people live to still apply specific fire safe regulations.
So, if I'm understanding it correctly, this can't be used to go back to homeowners insurance company and say, hey, look, we should not have our insurance.
No, because insurance companies look at risk, not hazard. Hopefully, some insurance companies may look at that and maybe it will serve as a benefit to residents. We really hope it does. I mean, you don't know, so different insurance, there is nothing that regulates the decisions that insurances make. So if this is a way to help a homeowner, use every tool possible to help you out with your insurance.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
Councilman
so
Wall.
that's really helpful context to kind of understand the difference between a hazard map and a map. I was wondering if you could just maybe just briefly kind of educate us on like what types of hazards are you looking at, or the folks that put together this map, what are they looking at to say, oh, this category of hazard would qualify as moderate, up to very high.
I can give you a summary to that, but I can't really give you exactly. We have never been able to really figure out the context that CAL FIRE uses in their complete formula with how they designate. What I can tell you is they use a much wider lens because they're covering a large part of California, whereas certain jurisdictions, they've hired third-party companies to actually come and do a hazard map specific to their jurisdiction because those people come in are much more magnified with what they're looking at. But as far as CAL FIRE, so if they're looking at a wider scope, they're really looking at the density of the vegetation that surrounds different areas of wherever they're mapping. So if they see more density, if they see more hills, more mountains, the topography definitely makes a big difference with how they're categorizing. We know things that have more ridge lines and more steeper slopes, fires run faster through that, especially if there's a lot of dense vegetation, a lot of dry debris. They look at the type of vegetation. So if there's like a lot of coyote brush, they look at different types of vegetation that inhabit that area so that they can make those kinds of designations. I do have on our website a page specific to fire hazard severity zones. Within there, I have a resource link that gives CAL FIRE's explanation not only on the history, but the science and methodology behind how they come up with their maps. It's a great public resource, great for residents to watch to kind of have a little bit of an understanding, but that's kind of the gist that they kind of go over in that video.
Other questions? Yes, Councilmember Ambarish.
So is it the case that if a fire breaks out in a different, say like a very high zone versus a moderate zone, is it going to be treated differently?
You mean will the fire treat it differently?
With the fire, yeah, the department.
Or the fire department?
Yes.
Oh, no, we treat everything the same way. If it's burning, it's burning. It doesn't matter where it's burning. Our operations function the exact same way. It doesn't matter where it is. What makes a difference is what is in that area. So if let's say we're looking at a parks area, let's say, and there's a fire that breaks out there, that's a different type of response with what kind of engines are going to come out. But if we know it's an area where there's a lot of structures, then that's going to require different resources that have trucks and ladders and different things because we have structures involved. So it all kind of depends on where it is, but it still gets treated with the same type of priority. It doesn't matter high or very high. And actually, with you bringing that up, just a kind of a quick fun fact. Those people who have been designated in the very high or high fire hazard severity zones for a long, long time, because they are located in that, most residents have already taken action and done things to help protect their homes because they're already aware of it. So in the research that was done in other areas like Paradise or the Tubbs fire, it was found that more structures burned in the moderate areas than in the very high and the high. Because those in the moderate, since they were in the moderate, they didn't expect that wildfire would really, one, come to their area, or two, affect them as much as the high and the very high. So it just goes to kind of, if you analyze that, looking at, back to your question, moderate versus very high or high, well, most people, because they're in those higher designated, they do a lot of work to protect their surroundings, whereas the moderate thought, well, we're in a moderate, we're not as much as in danger. When the fact of when the wildfire came through, those in the moderate had more destruction in their structures than the very high. So kind of interesting to see that perspective.
These maps are done by CAL FIRE, correct?
Correct.
And so, just so I understand it correctly, I have the old one here on my screen. Well, that's the old one, I guess. The new one is the one that was handed out.
That's the old one. This is the old one.
Oh, this is the old one.
Yeah.
That's the new one. So I had it exactly the opposite. So the old one only had very high fire hazard and very high fire hazard.
It have very high, some areas of moderate and some high. But it depends on the map you're looking at because there are two CAL FIRE maps. There was the LRA and the SRA. So you want to make sure if you're looking at the 2008 that you're looking at the one that's SRA or LRA.
So the one that's in the packet, at the end of the packet with
I
lots of
think
colors.
looking at that, it looks like it might be
It's that one,
your,
it's that one.
the SRA map.
Okay, because this one has.
That one's
multi-
ours. That one's the new one.
I see. And so this one has lots of different levels on it.
Yes, and this one, what we did
And I guess
was
the
we
old one only has two.
right. So what we did here is we pieced together so you could see the slashed out marks. That means it's in the state responsibility area. So that's SRA. And then we kept the other LRA, but the color is still designated. We just wanted people to know the difference between state regulated versus local, state responsibility and local responsibility. So that's why this kind of gives you that different perspective so that you understand where it is.
And also to be clear, we don't have any input on this. I mean, we're thumbs up on the, that's what we're supposed to do tonight.
Pretty much.
We can't argue that something is wrong.
No,
here.
that was one of the biggest things with adopting this map when we went through to adopt it was we can't make anything less restrictive. We could make it more restrictive, but that there's really nothing positive about making it more restrictive than it was because it doesn't help anybody and it doesn't make any final determinations just because you make it more restrictive. So we adopted it as it was, and that's how we
And
left it.
And it seems like that would defeat the purpose because if you're measuring hazard,
Exactly.
just because we say it's higher, it's not higher.
Exactly.
Just because we say it's not, it's a pretty, I would think it's a fairly objective.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the shaded areas that you were just talking about, the state responsibility areas, have they evolved at all since '08, since it's 3/4 of our border?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I believe they did because when I looked at our district as a whole, what I did notice as pretty much everything reduced. We didn't get anything that went classified any higher than it was. Everybody got reduced. Those who were already in the very high, some stayed in the very high, others went down to the high. And those in the high went down to the moderate. When you look at the map, the majority of our district is moderate. So, so I can't, I really can't complain about that as far as hazard goes. It was just interesting to me to see that that was the outcome because when you drive around the district, you certainly get a different perspective with your boots on the ground than these high scope lenses of how this district is being regarded, which is why we are very much pushing and educating on risk and the importance of the actions that still need to be taken regardless of what this map shows.
Given the kind of resources that are at our disposal, those are, the aerial resources and everything else. Is there any argument or is there any way to advocate for more SRA, if you will? We're not advocating for a change of high versus very high or whatever, but we're just trying to get access to planes that are dropping loads of water and all sorts of stuff. I mean,
I think
who
over
determines that?
time,
I don't even know who determines the SRA.
that's the state
still
responsibility
state.
area, so that's CAL FIRE. The only difference that is unique in Woodside is even though we have a lot of state responsibility area in Woodside Fire District's boundary lines, we have a mutual understanding agreement that because we are the responding agency, we provide fire prevention, we provide emergency response plan reviews. We treat the whole district as one, regardless SRA, LRA, we take care of our own. And that's kind of been that understanding. We didn't want to rely on CAL FIRE or anybody else to take care of our district.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Okay, we will move on to public comment. Any members of the public? And Ms. Hanson, your hand has gone up.
Hi, thank you. In the meeting packet tonight, the only map that was provided was the 2008 map that was being, that you're being asked to abandon. We weren't provided the new map. The new maps, by CAL FIRE actually have some areas in Woodside that have changed from moderate to very high. And there've been quite a few changes, and I really wish that there was some overlay so that you all could see, or so that I could see some of the differences. But one of the things that I think it's important to clarify is that the Woodside Fire Protection District actually has proposed and is asking you to approve a more restrictive map than the CAL FIRE map. Woodside Fire Protection District is looks at all of Woodside as very high fire, and when you are buying or selling a property, the necessity to do an inspection, to do defensible space, to pay for this inspection, and to have someone claim responsibility financially to do this within a year of the change of ownership is something that I think everybody should know about, because it's not consistent with the CAL FIRE maps. It's not consistent with the insurance maps. It's not consistent with the understanding by the local realtors organizations. So I think there's a lot of confusion around this currently. And I also think that, I guess my question is, what if you didn't adopt? What is, I mean, maybe you can't, maybe your hands are tied, and maybe this is just an exercise in having to approve something without a full understanding or without understanding the complexity. And that doesn't really feel right to me. So my question is, what if you didn't abandon this 2008 map? Thank you very much.
So I'll let Jean answer that part, but if I can just address first, this staff report, we're not asking for the town of Woodside to adopt anything more restrictive. What you're talking about with real estate, that's already in, this has nothing to do with the maps. It's in our fuel mitigation ordinance that's applicable to the entire fire district, nothing to do with the maps. It's that AB 38, which you're looking at for realtors, and we've talked about this before, is that doesn't exist in Woodside Fire District's boundaries because of our fuel mitigation ordinance requires that all sales in our district, regardless of where you are, is applicable, very high, high, or moderate, because fire has no boundaries. And it's important that every house, every homeowner be aware that they are moving into a wildland urban interface. And regardless what severity zone they're going to be in, they are at risk for destruction during a wildfire, and we want to make sure that we set them up for success. When a sale is done, it's a good time to catch success and for requirements to be put in place. But that's nothing to do with these maps. The CAL FIRE map that was put out, we adopted it exactly as it was, as it came. On our website, we do have that option of that overlay. You could do a slide bar from the 2008 to the 2025 version map, and you can actually see where the differences are. So you'd be able to see some of those areas and how they've changed between the two maps. Now I'll let Jean answer the legal part of the map adoption.
So let me say, first of all, that the 2025 map is in the staff report. It is attached to the ordinance that the fire district passed. It is part of the packet. So the map that the public is seeing is the new map that the fire department recently adopted by way of ordinance. You are being asked to ratify what they have already done. What the fire marshals just indicated is they took the map that was issued by the state of California. They had the option of making it even more restrictive, adding additional areas in there if they were to make special findings. They chose not to do that. So what we are asking you to do now is to ratify the map that the state issued and that the fire department has already adopted by way of ordinance.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, Kim, we'll come back for one more here.
Hi, sorry.
No, it's good.
And thank you for that clarification. The map that you're showing that has the carve out for Kenyatta College and for some parts of Woodside doesn't, from a boots on the ground perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
No, it doesn't. CAL FIRE didn't do boots on the ground. That's why it's the way it is. It's through their scope. So it would have been great to do boots on the ground for a hazard map, but that's not how CAL FIRE does their maps.
Okay. With that, we will close public comment. Any deliberations from council? Be one of those nights. Okay. Well, it's a bit of an interagency ratification, and we are here to be collaborative. So, anyone want to make a motion? Thank you, Councilmember.
Resolution ratifying ordinance number 25-01 of the Woodside Fire Protection District designating the fire hazard severity zones, official maps, and rescinding Woodside ordinance number 8-542, designating very high fire hazard severity zone.
Thanks.
Councilmember Albrecht,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Gold,
Yes.
Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Fire Marshal. Appreciate it. Appreciate the partnership very much. Okay, moving right along, new business item C, authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement with NV5 in the amount not to exceed 167,000, or with KPFF not to exceed 116,000 for the Old La Honda Road Drainage Improvement Project with satisfactory completion of reference checks. Going to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So ultimately, the Old La Honda Road Stormwater Project, these are the bids that came in for that project. They didn't come in until, I believe it was Friday at 4 o'clock. And so ultimately, knowing that we have break in August, we wanted to set ourselves up for success in order to kind of meet the dates that we need in order to continue to move forward with this project. And so we've come forward asking for authorization to basically vet both of these bids and give authority to the town manager to execute and move forward on one of these bids that's selected that eventually would be contracted with, I believe would be contracted, or are we dealing with that this evening as well? That you guys would eventually see the contract for this.
We would use our standard contract. So we would probably not bring that back
Oh,
to you.
okay, sorry.
We're asking for authorization to actually sign the contract to get the design work started. But you will then later in the fall see the construction contract. It'll have to go out to bid after the design is complete.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Great.
Okay, questions for staff?
And it's to do one or the other?
Yeah, it would be to do, there's two different bids that came in, and we will be selecting one of those bids.
Thank you.
Member Brown?
Now, what is the difference between the two bids? It's a huge, huge dollar difference.
That is a very good question, and that's one of the things that we're gonna go through and vet them out, because there's a $50,000 difference. But we are going to go through and go through the scope, check the references, and my goal is also to schedule interviews and ask them, kind of go through and make sure that we understand their process, and then the end result product is actually what we're looking for. So that's going to be part of it. And if I may add, these are not bids. These are proposals, which is different than bids. Bids are for construction that you have to, based on Public Works code, go to Public Works, you have to select the lowest bid. But these are proposals from consultants, and we select based on qualification, not price.
Big difference in cost.
It is.
Okay. And just for the avoidance of doubt, choose to not approve this, we would be required to hold an August meeting in order to meet the timeline that we have to meet here.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Ultimately, after the vetting process, we would then come back and request a special meeting in order to expedite the process rather than waiting until September 9th.
Thank you for agendizing this tonight. Any other questions? Yes.
One, so I know that bids usually, they often go over for various reasons. Are proposals any different? Like, do they usually stay within the budget that they set, or?
Well, I would respectfully disagree that all the bids would go over what they submitted. We do try to keep all the projects in line with what they have. Usually when there's a construction bid, we have a contingency, 10%, 5% contingency that we try to stay within if there are any items that come up. And these would be things that are outside the scope that wasn't specified before. That's when the contractor asks for a change order. If it's anything that's within the scope and they just come back willy-nilly and say, we want more money, they're going to be denied, obviously. In the case of the proposal, we have, because it's qualification-based design, we set the scope. We try to set it as tight as possible, with as much details as possible. When we issued this, we had a period for questions that they submitted, and we turned it around the next day and sent back the answers to them. So we are fully expecting that the price that they submitted is the price that we're going to hold them to. And if they're come back and say we messed up and we didn't know all the details, that's on them. They have to eat it, basically.
Thank you.
Yes.
Question to the Director of Public Works. So as I look through the two proposals, the more expensive one, it looks like they did NV5. I think they did much more work putting that together. I mean, it's obvious they visited the site, they were taking photographs and things like that. Maybe the other group did and they just didn't include it, but one of them looked kind of boilerplate to me. And the other, I mean, was that your impression as well? The other one seemed to have done a lot more work to come up with their proposal. It was a much more detailed proposal.
That's an indication. That was my impression as well. However, in these types of projects also, we had several criteria. We have 5 different criterias that we had specified in the RFP for selection. But one of the main things that for me is very important is the project manager's experience. So that's something that we have to vet through the interview process with them, because regardless of how much, I call it, I used to be a consultant, how much fluff they put in their proposals, it's ultimately the person that does the day-to-day work that is going to get the job done.
True.
And that's what we want to vet through this process.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we will open public comment. Any public comment on item C? Seeing none, we will close public comment. Any deliberation from council? Yes, sir.
I would simply say, since we're being asked to authorize going forward with one of either, well, they're quite a bit substantially different in cost, that you take the importance of cost to it as a very important element in your decision making. And only if the higher cost is far superior would I go with that. And I believe this final decision to staff to decide what's.
I'll just add, I think it's really glad to see that this project made it on the, or that we're talking about this project, that this is going to be moving forward. I think storm drainage maintenance is a really important investment in the town. We really saw that play out with the 2022 atmospheric rivers. And so I just wanted to say thank you for paying attention to this. I know storm drainage, we've got a storm drain master plan as well. I think that's also really important work. So just, a thank you that we're taking this seriously, because I think the downside of not investing in this is catastrophic. And so this is really important work.
Any other comments? Well, in order to keep the trains running on time while we're on recess, do we have a motion? Let's see.
I can do it.
Great.
I'll move to approve the resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement with NV5 in an amount not to exceed $167,080, or with KPFF in an amount not to exceed $116,710.60 for the Old La Honda Road drainage improvement project upon satisfactory completion of a reference check.
Second that.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Gold, Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you. All right, we broke our streak, a whole night of 5-0 votes. Good thing. Okay, the volunteer committee. Anything?
Yeah, I have a brief
All right.
report here, Mr. Mayor. The History Committee, the interior of the History Museum will be repainted soon before the committee installs their new exhibit to celebrate the 100th year of the Woodside Fire Protection District. It will hopefully be completed by the end of summer. That is something I believe Public Works is working on. Is that correct? Yes. The new information panel for Independence Hall has been installed outside on the right of the steps before entering the building, just right out these steps out the door here. From the Arts and Culture Committee, the next First Friday event is on August 1st, and it will feature the, is this correct? The Wordside Riders, okay. The Wordside Riders, whose members explore all forms of written expression and come together to share critique and improve their work in a safe environment. And finally, the Trails Committee would like to either meet with Circulation Committee in a special meeting, or will attend the next Circulation Committee meeting to discuss the town center area plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on volunteer committee items? All right, we will move on to council communications. Anything anyone wants to share with folks? Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Just an update, I'm working with the Atherton and the Portola Valley Councils to put on a seminar September 27th down in Little Palmer Park in Atherton. And the program's going to be for seniors, how to make life change decisions.
All right, I've already got it in my calendar. Thank you. Yes.
Could we review the calendar coming up, what the plans are? I'm in a bit of confusion. So for August, September, October, November, just rough outline where we are?
Yeah, I believe.
No meetings in August, right?
Yeah, there'll be no meetings in August. I believe we're set up for a normal September and I believe a normal October. And then we will be bringing an item to you probably September 9th on November and December. And more than likely, we will be splitting the difference in November and recommending that we cancel both meetings and have a special meeting. Knowing that we don't have any ordinances, and so there'll be no effect of the special meeting. And then we will also be, staff will advise to cancel the last meeting in December, and you would just have the first meeting scheduled in December. So one in the middle of November and one at the start of December is what staff will bring forward in September for you to vote on.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. And I had the opportunity to attend an event that we were all invited to at the Woodside Horse Park to honor Carl Cook, who was a silver medalist from Woodside for equestrian jumping. And the day before, they asked for remarks. So I did take the opportunity, mayoral privilege, to have a proclamation crafted and an honor coin given, which was well received. There thought there might be 20 people there. There were like 300. So it was, and a lot of folks from Portola Valley and their mayor and all sorts of stuff. And now they want an honor coin in Portola Valley. So, so we'll see if that happens. And I think with that, we'll call it at 8:25. Thank you. Have a great recess.